Welcome to Once Upon a Castle, unlocking the magic of Disney, past and present. I'm Ginny, your guide through the parks and the pages of Disney's rich history. Each week, we will share expert tips to help you plan your perfect visit and explore the stories, secrets, and legends that make the magic real. From Walt's vision to today's hidden gems, we will help you feel more connected, more prepared, and more enchanted every step of the way. So, whether you're counting down the days to your next trip or just dreaming of a stroll down Main Street, USA, this is your place to discover the wonder. This is Once Upon a Castle. Welcome back to Once Upon a Castle, the show where we take a stroll down the avenues, attractions, and stories that make Disneyland more than just a park. It's a living, breathing piece of American imagination. This is episode part 2 of our 4-part series all about Main Street, USA. In our first episode, we explored the attractions, from the vintage vehicles to the cinema and the great moments with Mr. Lincoln. But today, we're turning our attention to something that gives Main Street its heartbeat, the entertainment. Because while the castle might pull your eyes forward, it's the music, the laughter, and the performances along Main Street that truly bring it to life. But before we begin our journey, I would love to share a review from one of you listeners. This listener wrote, "As someone who loves all things Disney, I really enjoyed this podcast. The first episode is a nice introduction to the host and understanding her love of Disney and the park. I can't wait for future episodes and to get into the deep dives on the history and all of the different types of rides and things there are to see and do in the parks. Jen_Elliott." Wow, thank you so much, Jen. And that is really saying a lot coming from you. Jen hosts the amazing podcast that I've mentioned before, Disney Junkie. Jen, that is such a high compliment. Her podcast is so amazing. Thank you so much for listening and your kind words. And I highly recommend everybody go check out Disney Junkie. You will not regret it. Such a good show. And if you're enjoying this show so far, I'd love your help spreading the magic. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and writing a quick review like Jen did. Tell me what you like best, how I can keep getting better, and what you'd love to know more about. Maybe a favorite land or a must-see attraction that you want a deep dive on. Your feedback shapes the episodes ahead. You can reach me by email at magic@onceuponacastlepodcast.com. I would just love to hear from all of you and hear what you have to say and what you're looking forward to. All right, so I asked you guys last week to play the game Kiss, Marry, Poison with me about the Main Street attractions, and y'all did not disappoint. I even asked my friends over on the Hub Crawl Discord, and it got wild over there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here are some of our results. Eric C. said, "I would kiss the Main Street Cinema, marry the railroad, poison the bench because it's overly popular and never available to sit on. If I can't have it, nobody can have it." That's nice, Eric. Chris R. said that they would kiss the churro cart, marry the opera house, and poison the horse-drawn carriage. Savage. Sean M. said, "I'm going to kiss the fire truck, marry the railroad, and poison those tracks in the middle of the street." They were concerned about those tracks being ankle munchers. Eric J. said that they would kiss the fire truck. Okay, we got a lot of fire truck fans here. Marry Carnation Cafe. Ooh, that's a good one. And they would poison the omnibus. Wow. Eric had a lot of opinions on the omnibus. But all right, rest in peace, omnibus. Bye. Ryan GH said that they would marry the train, kiss the opera house. Okay, so we've got some opera house fans here. And oh my gosh, no, Ryan would poison the horse-drawn carriage. You guys, not the horsies. Come on. Marie W. said that oh my gosh, stop it. They'll poison the Main Street Cinema, kiss the Disney Gallery, and marry the omnibus. Okay, so we have somebody is saving the omnibus here. Ryan P. said they would kiss the horse-drawn carriage or fire truck. Okay, yes. Long live the horsies. They would, this one's good. Marry the corn dog stand. Love that. And oh man, it's it's looking rough for the omnibus. They would poison the omnibus. Guys, this is savage. All right, I told you last week that I would tell you what my choices are. Be prepared. Guys, I would kiss the Main Street tribute windows. I would marry the Main Street Cinema. And do not come for me. I would poison the train. I said it. I said it with my chest, guys. I would poison the train. While it was Walt's favorite, I just I just don't think it's that great. I don't know. I mean, it is nice when you've had a long day and you just want to sit on it and ride around the park and do the Grand Circle tour and like have a snack, but that's like really kind of it. Like, I don't know, it's just not, I don't know, y'all. It just doesn't do it for me. So I know you're going to come at me for this, but whatever, it's fine. I'll just go ride my horses and my omnibus and be happy with that. So thanks for playing along with me. If you didn't get a chance to share what you would kiss, marry, or poison yet, head on over to Patreon, Instagram, or TikTok, or comment when you leave a review and let us know, what would you kiss, marry, and poison on Main Street? Okay, my friends, so in this episode, we'll dive into the sounds and stories behind Main Street entertainers, from the timeless harmonies of the Dapper Dans to the rousing spirit of the Disneyland Band, the spontaneous charm of the cavalcades, and the heartfelt tradition of the flag retreat ceremony, a moment that reminds us that even in the happiest place on earth, there's room for reflection and gratitude. We'll explore how these performers have evolved over the years, what makes them so beloved by fans and cast members alike, and how Walt's original vision of a small-town America comes alive through every note and parade step. And don't forget, next time we'll be talking about one of Main Street's great pleasures, the food. From the scent of fresh popcorn to the famous Disneyland corn dog, we'll take a delicious tour through the treats that keep guests smiling, from rope drop to fireworks. Then, in our final episode, we'll wrap up the series with a special guest, and boy, do I have a good one for you. This guest will share their personal memories and insights about what makes Main Street such a magical place to return to again and again. So, grab your churro, find a spot on the curb, and listen closely, because the show's about to begin. I'm just really excited to talk with you guys today about entertainment at Disneyland Park. It's one of my favorite things about the park. So I'm the type of person, I love live entertainment. I love musicals. I love theater. I love live music. Just any kind of live entertainment I am all about. So I could easily go a whole day at the parks without riding any rides and just enjoying the different non-ride attractions and the entertainment. I've gone pretty close to that before, never a full day, but I totally could. I will find every opportunity to see and experience the entertainment. To me, Disneyland is not just about the rides, it's also the entertainment, and it's part of that storytelling. It's part of that immersive experience. That's just my personal preference. So I'm really excited to go over all of the Main Street entertainment today with you guys, because I think it could just add another extra layer to your trip, make it that more special, that more interactive, and let's get into it. All right, everyone, let's begin. We're actually going to start with one of my favorite entertainments there on Main Street, USA. Actually, It's one of my favorite entertainment across the whole park, and that is the Dapper Dans. So the Dapper Dans began in 1959, so one of the earliest forms of entertainment at Disneyland. And the Dapper Dans are one of Disney's longest continuous running theatrical street acts. They are a barbershop quartet. And they really help cement the model of the theme of that like era appropriate live entertainment on park streets, kind of meeting that turn of the century vibe, right? So actually in 1957, there was a group called Four Guys and a Girl that performed, and they were kind of the predecessors of the Dapper Dans. And they were actually only supposed to be there temporarily, but people loved them so much that they extended their time, and they're still here to this day. So we know that Walt's Main Street, he really wanted to evoke that turn of the century Americana, small town life, and the Barbershop Quartet just fit that theming perfectly. It was folksy, nostalgic, and interactive with guests, and the Dapper Dans were designed as living entertainment that really reinforced that era and the atmosphere on Main Street. They really just helped to like bring that to life, and their movement and the sound just really kind of transports you into that turn of the century era. On occasion, and I've actually never seen this, I would love to see this. So if you've seen this, or you have pictures or videos, like send them in. I would love to see this. But on occasion, they ride a custom 4-person Schwinn bike while they're entertaining and singing. And again, they perform a cappella, but occasionally they have the Deegan organ chimes that join them. So in the 1970s, that's when the Dapper Dans started to add the Deegan organ chimes to some of their numbers. They're just a really fun way to kind of change things up, add a little bit more dimension. I'm always just so impressed how these performers, I mean, their voices are so impressive, the way they have their dancing and choreography, right? They have so many of these songs memorized, and then to be able to add on these organ chimes is like, it just blows my mind. Historically, the Dapper Dans would sing a mix of barbershop standards, Americana, vaudeville era type tunes, and Disney film songs arranged in barbershop harmony. So you can kind of take some of those songs that, maybe you grew up with or that are really special to you in the Disney era, those films, and they put them into that barbershop harmony style. And actually, during the holidays, they switched to classic Christmas carols or seasonal medleys. One of my favorite songs that they perform is Grim Grinning Ghosts. So they do that at the Halloween time, and it's just so fun. The Dans have sung for numerous celebrities and Disney legends. So they have sung for people like Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, and even the Sherman Brothers. So the Sherman Brothers were very instrumental in Disney history. They are the ones that wrote It's a Small World, The Tiki Room, It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. So for the Dans to be able to perform for these celebrities, oh boy, that is so cool. For Disneyland's 60th anniversary, collectible trading cards actually featured the Dapper Dans, and those were released, and it was just kind of a nod to their Main Street Americana image. But that would be so interesting. What a cool collectible item. I want to look into this and see, how do I get me some Dapper Dan trading cards? I'm just a huge fan of the Dapper Dans. They are so impressive to me. They're so fun and engaging. Like, they bring the audience in, they joke around with you. And I just love listening to them and kind of bopping around and dancing. And they're just some of my favorites. I have been known to, sprint to see them. But really, before performing for guests, new Dans go through an extremely rigorous training. So, not just learning like the harmonies, but they also have to learn special choreography, comedic timing, how to interact with guests, and even how to use those chimes properly. Like I said, they're just super engaging, a lot of fun. I would highly recommend that if you are planning a trip to Disneyland, if you've never seen them before, looking on the app or the entertainment guide and kind of figuring out when are they performing, and I would definitely go see them. I remember this summer, like I said, I would do a lot of sketchy things to see the Dans perform. But this summer, they were performing in front of the firehouse. So I was actually, before they started performing, I was just going to the bathroom. There's a bathroom right there by the city hall and the fire station. And I was just, in the bathroom doing my thing. And all of a sudden, I heard the dance start. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get out there right now. So, I just like made myself hurry up. I hurry up and washed myself. And I just go sprinting out of the bathrooms right there to be able to listen to the dance. I was very, very excited. My family and friends were off kind of doing their own thing. And I think I maybe only missed like the first song. So it was great. I am always super excited to see them. They just bring they were Walt's intention to bring the atmosphere to life, to bring that small town picturesque feel and just make you feel like you are in it and experiencing it and living it, and like the rest of the world drifts away and you're just lulled into fantasy with the beautiful voices of the Dapper Dans. So huge fan. Speaking of more amazing musical talent, we have the Disneyland Band. Oh, guys, the Disneyland Band is such a good time. Wonderful performers. They sing, kind of those classic Disney songs and some of the newer songs too that are coming out in the movies, but they also are just such wonderful entertainers, and I could sit and watch them for hours. I always get really sad when their set is done. I'm like, no, wait, play more. So the Disneyland Band was actually around the opening day of Disneyland. So they have been around for just as long as Disneyland, July 17th, 1955. And the band has been described in one source as Disneyland's oldest entertainment because they have performed continuously since opening day. And Walt Disney actually originally hired British bandmaster Vassie Walker to assemble a band for the park's opening. And originally, the band was only scheduled to perform for a 2-week engagement during the park's opening period. But popularity of the ensemble quickly turned into a permanent fixture. People loved them, and I totally can see why. Under Walker's direction, the band developed a large repertoire, including marches, polkas, waltzes, jazz renditions, and of course, Disney tunes. And they began the tradition of marching through Main Street, USA, and other areas of the park. So it's like a good traditional marching band. The band actually has also expanded into smaller ensembles for special purposes. And according to one source, subgroups include the Hook and Ladder Code that they perform on Main Street, or the Royal Street Bachelors. They're in New Orleans squares, and these are kind of for more of those like intimate performances. But when the band first started, they didn't even own their own instruments. Like, we've talked about this before, how the creation of Disneyland, boy, it was quite a rush, and they were getting scrappy in order to figure out how to make the parks come together. And one of those was the instruments for the Disneyland Band. So they didn't even have or own their own instruments, and they were actually borrowed from local high schools and municipal bands all throughout the Los Angeles area until Disneyland could eventually afford to purchase a full set of the instruments, which is just wild to me. It just shows how gritty they were in those first few years of Disneyland. In the 1960s and 70s, guests could actually sign up to conduct the Disneyland Band, and winners got a souvenir baton and a photo. How cool. I know nothing about conducting bands or reading or writing music, but that would be so cool to do. And unfortunately, that tradition is no longer happening. Now, let's get into some logistics. So, the band actually performs several times a day in full uniform in all weather, and sometimes up to 6 shows a day. These members, they train like athletes to be able to like maintain their breathing control and their endurance. Like they play for quite a while. Those instruments are heavy. They're marching and moving all around. The uniforms, boy, they are snazzy, but I can only imagine how hot they would be. So not only are they great entertainers, but they have got to be pretty physically fit. So, if you have not yet checked out the Disneyland Band, you definitely need to. But if you have heard the Disneyland Band, I would love for you to leave a comment or message me about what are some of your favorite memories from listening to the band. Next up on our list, we have another amazing band. So, this is the Pearly Band. And the Pearly Band is inspired by the animated musical trope seen in the film Mary Poppins. And that film, the Pearly musicians appear during the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious sequence. So if you go back and watch that movie, or you are familiar with it and you see the little musical performers, they're dressed all brightly during that part of the movie, then that is what our Disneyland band, Pearly Band, was inspired by. The Pearlies, that's what they called them. They were a regular fixture at Disneyland shortly after the Mary Poppins film came out. The film came out in 1964, not around as long as the Dapper Dans or the Disneyland Band, but they've been there for quite a while. And the band's costume motif of coats and suits covered with these large mother of pearl buttons, that's drawn from the tradition of London's pearly kings and queens. And that was a working class charitable tradition in the 19th century where participants wore clothing decorated with pearl buttons and they paraded around for fundraising. The Pearly Band concepts ties into that Victorian and Edwardian era of British music hall walks and street bands, and that just really helps explain the cheerful marching style that you see from the Pearly Band, and again just brings in that happy atmosphere that Walt Disney was trying to achieve there on Main Street. So they fit right in. Now, I'm bringing them up because while they don't often play exactly on Main Street, they do play at the end of Main Street, right in front of the castle. So I kind of wanted to include them in Main Street entertainment. So you can find them there in front of the castle. They will often have interactions with special characters like Mary Poppins and Bert. They join in and have a lot of fun with them. You can also find them between the castle and Dumbo's area and near the second level of the It's a Small World mall entrance. So they're kind of a little bit all over the place, mostly there in Fantasyland. But if you're walking down Main Street and you get to the end, maybe time it out nicely and you can enjoy watching the Pearly Band, and especially when they have Bert and Mary Poppins with them. That is super fun. Next up, let's talk about fireworks. We all know that Disney is well known for their fireworks. I always joke with friends and family that Disneyland fireworks have ruined me for any other fireworks show. Like, it's the 4th of July or New Year's Eve or something, and you have our local towns like doing fireworks. I'm like, sorry, I've seen Disney fireworks. Like, those just don't do it for me. Once you've watched fireworks behind a castle with projections on it, or you've danced down Main Street while the fireworks are going off, you really can't beat it. The very first fireworks at Disneyland debuted in 1956, about a year after the park opened in 1955. And this was at the request of Walt Disney himself. He wanted a nighttime spectacular that would cap the day for guests and keep them in the parks a little longer. So part of the reason for the fireworks was really practical. Like it encouraged guests to remain until after dark, making the park more appealing as a full day destination. And if you remember in our last episode, we talked about the Chicago Railway Fair. And there at the end of the night for the fair, they had a fireworks show. And that's really kind of where Walt was inspired. Like he saw that and thought, oh boy, I really want to bring that forward into my park. And he kind of called it his kiss goodnight. So that was a great way not only to keep the guests in the park longer, but also to just send everybody off with a nice little, a nice little kiss goodnight. The earliest shows, though, were extremely modest by today's standards, like extremely modest. They would only last like maybe a few minutes, and cast members would actually have to manually light the fuses. So I'm sure things got pretty risky, and that was an interesting job. The name Fantasy in the Sky was in use as early as 1958 for the regular fireworks display at Disneyland. And then in 2000, the show Believe There's Magic in the Stars debuted, and that was replacing Fantasy in the Sky for the park's 45th anniversary. And this was a big step up in terms of narrative, soundtrack, and technology. So we started to see the fireworks show shift a little bit more towards what we're used to seeing today. So Fantasy in the Sky was the longest running show. It ran from 1958 to 1996. That's roughly 38 years of continuous operation, making it by far the longest running fireworks spectacular in Disneyland's history. So that show was the OG. Dreams Come True is the most popular. And it really wasn't just a fireworks show. Like this is where Disney started to pop off, metaphorically and I suppose literally, when it came to their fireworks show. So it was a love letter to Disneyland itself. And this was to celebrate the park's history through music, narration, and fireworks synced to the attractions and the lands that shaped it. And it is often called the greatest Disney fireworks show ever produced, not only by fans, but by many Disney Imagineers and cast members who worked on it. Then in 2023, we had Wondrous Journeys, and that is the current fireworks show. And Wondrous Journeys, it celebrates 100 years of Disney animation. So the Disney company celebrated its 100th birthday in 2023, hence the Wondrous Journeys. And now they are currently celebrating their 70th anniversary of the Disneyland park. So they're continuing to play Wondrous Journeys. And it just really is a great show that celebrates all that the Disney company itself has done over the last 100 years. Now, here's some tips about navigating the fireworks show. Some things that if you're new to the parks or you've never actually seen the fireworks show, you might find helpful. So one thing to note, my friends, is that during off-peak months, which nowadays the parks gets so busy year round. I feel like that's a hard thing to even say, but during off-peak months, the show will usually only run on the weekends. And this was actually not something that I was aware of the very first time I went to Disneyland. So it's been many years since I've been there for the first time, but we went for the first time in February. And, I had spent my whole day like, okay, we had the fireworks starting at 9 because that's what I had heard in the past, and kind of like planning my whole day around that. And then lo and behold, the show did not happen because it was not a weekend when we were there, which was okay. Like we still had an amazing time. But if you really have your heart set on seeing the Disneyland fireworks, then just be aware that during off-peak months, it only runs on the weekends. And also be aware that the wind and the weather can affect the show. So it can get pretty windy there in Anaheim. So if it gets too windy, or even if you might not feel the wind on the ground, if there's too much wind up higher in the air, that could blow the fireworks and any sparks around, they will cancel the show just for safety measures for us and for the people that lived in the surrounding areas. But a lot of times, even if they cancel the fireworks, they still have the projections going. So the fireworks show, like we talked about a few minutes ago, it has evolved over time. And it's not just fireworks, but they engage in projections, and they will project on the castle. They'll project on Main Street, the buildings of Main Street itself. They'll project over at It's a Small World. And now they have a new show in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where it's kind of a different Star Wars theme to it. But so you might not have the actual fireworks themselves, but you can still have fun and see the music and see the projections. I've had that happen to me a few times, and it's still always a really good time, no matter what. Another thing to note too is that Fantasyland and Toontown and those areas back there, they get closed down during and after the show for a little bit. So especially in Fantasyland, everything gets closed down. You can't even really walk through the castle. They have certain areas in Fantasyland blocked off. So that's when the fire department will come in and do their safety check after the show. So just be aware. I know I've gotten myself stuck back there before trying to get to certain places, and areas were roped off after the fireworks because of those reasons. So a lot of people will ask me, what are your tips for where to sit and what time to get there? And guys, that's really hard for me to say. It really just depends. If you are someone that seeing the fireworks show is really, really important for you, maybe a little bit more pre-planning. Some great seating is just right there in front of the castle, to be perfectly honest. Those are the best views. You don't have the trees blocking you, and you can see things straight on. But also don't rule out Main Street. Sitting on Main Street can be really amazing too. So you get the fireworks in the background, but you can see the projections, and it's just kind of all encompassing when you're you feel like you are just engulfed in it when you're on Main Street. One of the last trips that I was at, my son and I, we got separated from our friends. It was the 70th, and it was madness. So he and I actually ducked into the Jolly Holiday and snagged a table there. We got some treats, and we sat there and watched the fireworks. It was a great view. It wasn't the best view, but it was still a great view, and we got to sit and enjoy some treats. And we met some lovely ladies that we were chatting with, so that was super fun. But as far as seating goes, check out Main Street, try to get up closer towards the castle, past the hub area, because then you don't have the trees blocking you. And as far as timing goes, oh boy, there are people that will start camping out on spots hours ahead of time. I don't ever find it super necessary, but the fireworks for me personally, I could take it or leave it. If it works out where we see them, great. If not, I'm fine with missing out on them. It's not that big of a deal to me personally. So I honestly usually wait kind of until the last minute and just find a spot that's open, even if it's not the best place. But one thing you might consider too is that if you do really want to ensure getting a good spot, maybe planning out an hour before the show starts, and you can go and get some snacks or, get your dinner, mobile order that, get it to go and have a seat. I will say when I was there a few months ago, my friend and I, we did a tour. So we got some reserved seating area, and that was amazing. But we got there early enough. That's kind of what we did. We went and got some snacks, and then we just kind of got cozy on the ground, enjoyed our food, and then got to watch the parade and the show. So me personally, I would not camp out any more than an hour ahead of the show, and that's even pushing it for me. But you have to do what's best for you. But just know that people really do start to camp out pretty early. to get those prime seats. All right, party people, let's keep this party going. And let's talk about the parades. So, Disneyland is known for its amazing parades. And, when it comes to entertainment there at Disneyland, I might not wait around and make it a priority to see the fireworks, but I will make it a priority to watch a good parade. So in the late 1950s and early 1960s, Disneyland ran variety parades, and those were with themes linked to anniversaries, holidays, or like film tie-ins. So for example, the Mickey Mouse Club Circus Parade began in November of 1955. And early day parades were daylight. They were modest lighting. Then later night parades like the Main Street Electrical Parade and Paint the Night made lighting the focal point. And the shift from incandescent bulbs to LEDs and the use of digital control systems, advanced floating mechanics, it just really started to elevate the parade experience for guests. So initially, live band accompaniment or just simple recorded tracks is what played with the parades. And then over time, fully orchestrated soundtracks synchronized with the floats, custom compositions, multi-channel speakers started to come into play and just bringing the parades to life again, creating yet another immersive experience. So, the Christmas Fantasy Parade began in 1995 and it has run for 30 years and counting. So every year Disney does a Christmas parade and it's the Christmas Fantasy Parade. So this is actually the longest running parade in Disney history. Clocking in at 30 years and counting. They will run that parade again this year for Christmas 2025. Now, the most popular parade is the Main Street Electrical Parade, and that ran for cumulatively 30 years. So the Christmas Fantasy and the Main Street Electrical Parade are like neck and neck for the longest running, but Main Street Electrical Parade is most definitely the most popular parade. And this parade is so fun and gorgeous. It is a nighttime parade. The floats are lit up, fun music. It's just amazing to me what people can do with lighting. Now, I personally have never seen the Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland. I did, however, watch it the first time I went to Disney World, and I was just blown away. It's so good. Now, though, the current show that we have is Paint the Night. Oh, that show is so fun. And it debuted May 22nd in 2015. And it was actually originally part of the 60th anniversary, their Diamond Celebration for Disneyland. It's often described as Main Street Electrical Parade meets World of Color. And World of Color is the water and light show over at Disney California Adventure. It's got that same nostalgic charm, but it's powered by that state-of-the-art tech. So you get, the nostalgia of the Main Street Electrical Parade, but you get the new cool technology of World of Color. It's just a really beautiful, fun show. The music, it's so energizing when it's been a long day and you get the parade coming through and you just start busting out dancing and jumping around and you're just like, yeah, I'm ready to take on the few more hours left. So some kind of cool facts about Paint the Night is there are over 1.5 million LED lights, and they are each individually programmable. That's wild. It's fully wireless float communication, so the floats, quote unquote, talk to each other in order to sync color and timing. They run on rechargeable battery systems instead of like gas generators. There's performers in the parades, of course, and their costumes also feature fiber optic and LED elements. Their costumes are often synced to the music. It's wild, the technology that they can make happen. The costume control software allows the designers to repaint color palettes on the fly, which kind of ties into that name of Paint the Night. And it's one of the first Disney parades to use Bluetooth enabled guest interactivity. So, what that means is that guests can kind of purchase items. So they can purchase glow ears or wands or paint brushes. Right now with the 70th, you can have one of those giant keys, and those actually light up and sync with the parade. Like, it is wild. It's so fun. It's beautiful, it's fun, and the technology and the capabilities that go into making this parade happen is just absolutely wild. Highly recommend making the time to go see Paint the Night. Now, some of the parades, not Paint the Night, but in the past, some parades also run during the day, so you'll have a daytime or a nighttime parade. So when you go and visit, just check out the entertainment schedule and see, hey, what's going on? What parades? You don't want to miss a parade. They're so fun. Some practical tips that people often want to know is about seating and timing. Some great places. Figure out and ask cast members, like, where's the parade route going to be, and getting yourself a nice comfortable place. Kind of same to the fireworks. People tend to camp out sometimes many hours in advance. I've never really had to do that personally, but if you have littles, or if you have a big group, you might want to find a good spot where you can sit down. Think about that. Again, I probably wouldn't personally camp out anything longer than an hour, and that's kind of pushing it for me. But if you are going to camp out, I highly recommend getting some snacks, getting something to eat, making yourself comfortable, maybe, camping out if you're a big group in shifts and kind of sharing that responsibility. Another thing too that you could look into is there are dining packages for sometimes the fireworks, but definitely the parades around the park. So that would be like, I'm going to pay, it varies on what restaurant you go to, but there's certain restaurants that host that where you could pay, you get a meal, and then you also get preferred seating for either the fireworks or the parade. It just depends on your package. So definitely look into that. Those can certainly be worth it. I definitely appreciate that. That way you're kind of not having to camp out as long, and you get some good, yummy food. We did that this summer. We did the Plaza Inn dining package for Paint the Night. So we went and had lunch at Plaza Inn, great meal, and then we just came back later at night and were given the reserved seating. Had a perfect spot right there on the curb. I think we also brought some snacks with us later because it was later, had some desserts and enjoyed it that way. And then again, just a couple months ago when we did that tour, the tour offered preferred seating, and right where we were, this was right in front of the partner statue there at the hub. And because of the timing of Paint the Night, so Paint the Night begins and then it ends, and then like 5 minutes later the fireworks start, we had, we looked down Main Street and got to sit right at the edge and watch Paint the Night. It was the best view I've ever had. You were just in the parade. It was so amazing. And then 5 minutes later, we turned around, we faced the castle and watched the fireworks show. So that tour itself gave us the absolute best seating for both shows. And, like I said, we grabbed some treats and snacks and camped out and had a great time. So I highly recommend checking the parades out. They're just a super fun way to bring the parks to life. They're great when you are, having a long day and you need a rest. You need to sit down for a little bit, have a snack, and just enjoy some entertainment. So don't skip on the parades, guys. The other thing too, if you're not looking to watch a big long parade, we actually have the cavalcades. The cavalcades are mini parades. They typically include like one or two small floats or vehicles. Sometimes they'll use the Main Street vehicles, and just like a handful of the Disney characters. They're either walking or they're on the floats. Music themed to the characters or the occasion. Like right now there's a cavalcade going around for the 70th, so that music was themed to that. Usually the cavalcades are only about 3 to 5 minutes. minutes, whereas the bigger main parades, like I said, 20, 30, sometimes even up to 40 minutes. The cavalcades are kind of designed to be spontaneous and frequent. So they kind of create that like surprise moments of Disney magic without requiring guests to like camp out along the curb or make these big plans. It's kind of fun when you're just walking around the parks and you just kind of happen upon them. You take a moment, you sit or stand as they walk by, and then off you go. Just a fun little perk to your day. Now, there are a few different cavalcades going on right now. One is the Mickey and Friends Brand New Day Cavalcade. And they usually run a couple of times a day, more towards the afternoon. So this is like Mickey, Minnie, their friends, upbeat music, just a fun, dancing down the street. Then we have the Celebrate Happy Cavalcade, and this is a newer cavalcade that is specifically for the 70th anniversary, and that features Mickey and Friends, and then we also have Duffy and Shelley May. So those are huge popular characters over in the Asian parks. So Duffy and Shelley May are coming to celebrate Disneyland 70th. You're going to have some Disney princesses and heroes out in that one. So you might, stumble upon that one or check in with a cast member to see where the best place to catch those would be. And then because right now it's almost Halloween, there's a Mickey and Friends Halloween cavalcade. So they do seasonal offerings, Halloween, Christmas cavalcades that can just be really fun to check out. So I wouldn't necessarily plan my day around a cavalcade, but if I'm in an area around Main Street, around the castle, and I know that it's going to be coming by, just being on the lookout and being aware, they're really fun to engage in. Then last but most certainly not least, the final entertainment that we will find on Main Street is the flag retreat. So the flag retreat dates all the way back to opening day. And Walt Disney said, as long as there's Disneyland, that flag should fly and it should be taken down with pride every evening. And this ceremony, the flag retreat, is a ceremony and it embodies Walt Disney's respect for America and its servicemen and women. He had a big heart for the armed forces and the men and women that served in it, and he was very proud of his American heritage. And so having that flagpole there when you first come into Main Street and having the flag retreat was something that was really special for him. So he wanted Disneyland to represent the optimism of the nation of America. So Main Street was kind of that every town USA, and the flag retreat was the day's closing heartbeat. So you're going to find the flag retreat happening there at Town Square on Main Street. So when you first walk into Main Street, there is kind of this little center circle. So that's Town Square. And that's right in between the Opera House and City Hall and kind of right in front of the train station. So huge flagpole there, and you're gonna find the flag retreat happening around 4:30 to 5 every day. But definitely make sure that you check the Disneyland app for the exact time, because that might shift like in the winter months as the sun is setting. It's usually about 15 to 20 minutes, and there's the Disneyland Band. Sometimes the Dapper Dans will perform, and then they have the Disneyland Security Honor Guard that will also be a part of the flag retreat. So the flagpole there in Town Square is actually the original from opening day. And the cool thing is that it was constructed using a lightning rod salvaged from a shipwrecked vessel. That's wild. So it's kind of like giving it both like a historical and that symbolic strength. Very cool. So the members of the Disneyland security team, who many are actually military veterans, but these are not like entertainment cast members. These are security who were trained specifically, and they have gone through rigorous training on doing flag retreat ceremonies. And like I said, a lot of them are actually previous military veterans, and they're the ones that perform the formal flag lowering, with full military precision. And the band is there, and the band performs an armed forces melody. So they are playing the original songs of each branch of the U.S. military. So for the Army song, they play The Caissons Go Rolling Along. For the Navy, it's Anchor Is Away. In regards to the Air Force, it's the U.S. Air Force song. They play the Marines hymn to honor the Marines and Semper Paratus for the Coast Guard. And the flag is lowered slowly as the band plays the Star Spangled Banner. Now, on special holidays like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Independence Day, Disneyland will actually offer enhanced ceremonies. So on these days, the ceremony is expanded, usually with a larger band or extended melodies, and sometimes guest veterans or color guards from local bases will come in and be a part of the ceremony as well. And as each song plays, veterans and active duty members of that branch are invited to stand, be recognized, and often, it's cheering and applause and just really honoring those servicemen and women. I've watched this ceremony many times. It's always just a good anchor, a good reminder. I come from a military family. My dad served as a Marine, and once a Marine, always a Marine. And my husband is a 20-year Army and Army National Guard vet. So I just think that these ceremonies are such a great way to honor the men and women that serve our country in order to make things like Disneyland a possibility. Not every place in the world has the luxury and the opportunity to do and go and live in a place where Disneyland is offered. And I know I'm personally just so grateful. And I think that the flag retreat is a way for just us as adults to come back in and recenter and calm ourselves and just show gratitude. But also, if you have kids, this is a great way to bring them in and kind of show them a way to show respect and kind of talk about what these people have done for us and why it matters, the sacrifices that they have made, so that we get to enjoy the simple pleasures like going to Disneyland. So definitely check out the flag retreat. It's a great ceremony, a great opportunity. Well, my friends, that wraps up today's stroll down Main Street, USA, exploring the sights, sounds, and smiles that bring the heart of Disneyland to life through entertainment. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the magic of Disney, past and present. From the Dapper Dans harmonies echoing off the storefronts, to the marching magic of the Disneyland Band, to the heartfelt flag retreat ceremony that reminds us of the values Walt built this park upon. Main Street truly is where the magic meets meaning. If you loved this episode and want to keep wandering with me, come join our community over on Patreon. It's completely free to join, but it's where I'll be sharing behind the scenes notes, photos, and bonus thoughts from each episode. I think it's such a great space for all of us to connect, help one another plan trips, and just share our crazy love for Disney. It's like our own little corner of Main Street. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow, rate, or leave a review. This really truly helps more Disney dreamers find their way to the castle. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Once Upon a Castle Podcast or on TikTok at Virginia K. West. Now, before I leave you guys, I have got to know, what is your favorite Main Street USA entertainment? And what are your best parade and firework tips? So, some of our listeners are veteran Disneyland goers, and some of our listeners are newbies or have never been to the park. So this question is really for you veteran Disneyland fans. Let's help out our new timers who are planning for their first trips by sharing with them our favorite Main Street entertainment and, of course, your best parade and fireworks tips. Let me know in the comments or let me know on Patreon or Instagram or TikTok, and I will share out those tips and your favorite entertainment on our next episode. And speaking of next time, our next episode is going to be all about one of Main Street's greatest delights, the food. We'll explore everything from classic popcorn and churros to the secrets behind the Carnation Cafe and Gibson Girl ice cream. So stay tuned And of course, stay hungry. Until next time, keep the magic alive and the memories close. And as always, I'm wishing you a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye-bye.